Thanks for joining me for another Watercolor Live. I am so happy to have all of you on with me. This always means so much to me that you take your Wednesday mornings to spend with me, and I hope I don't disappoint you this time. So please say hello that you are on and watching. I am now seeing my comments come in so that I can say hello to you back again. Hello, Kathy Warren. Hello, Roberta. Kathy Akers, I think, is the one who started the Queen Bee, if I'm correct in thinking back on this. So, first of all, let me just say thank you to everyone who sent me so many birthday messages, birthday wishes, comments, cards. I have just been overwhelmed, you guys, and I appreciate it so, so much. Such kind words and such kind, thoughtful messages. I appreciate it so much. I turned 64 on Saturday. Shocking. It's shocking to be getting this old. But I got to show you something that Kendra gave me for my birthday. So here it is. I know this is backwards, but I think you guys can read it. It's Queen Bee. And I think Kathy Akers, when I saw her name on here, I think she is the one who started this whole Queen Bee thing. And of course, Kendra latched right onto it and got me this awesome mug, which I absolutely love. So it's kind of been a really fun joke. So thank you, Kathy Akers, for that. But I just appreciate you guys so much. You know what? It's 64 is 64, and it's a little shocking. I don't feel 64. I feel about 35. And until I look in the mirror, and now it's a magnifying mirror because I can't see. So I see all the wrinkles now and everything else. So, but you know what? I mean, I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for 64 years. A lot of people don't get to reach this milestone. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate my birthday and being here. So that makes it a little bit easier. And I mean, I'm only a year away from Medicare. So that's also a plus. So, okay, hello, I can get back to here. Dot, love the cup. Yes, it's awesome. Nell, hello. Andrea, hello. Jackie Bell, Ruth Ann, we all feel 35. Okay, so I've always heard that emotionally you never really feel your age after 35. You always kind of feel like that's how old you are. And then when you actually see yourself in the mirror, it's kind of shocking. But I've always heard that, so it'd be interesting if you guys think that too. Diana, happy belated birthday. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sue Wagner, hello. Betty, hello. Nicole, hello. Carolyn, hello. Oh, so kind. You guys have just sent me the kindest messages. The people in this industry, I say that all the time, but the people in this industry, you guys are the kindest, most giving people, and that's why you're drawn to these techniques and this art, is because you're making it for someone. You're making it to give away. You're making it for a card, you're making it to put in a frame, but you're making it to give away and encourage somebody. And I just appreciate that so much. And it comes through. It just comes through in the ways that you encourage each other, in the ways that you care, and just the way that you interact. You know, it's kind of like making friends. And I don't know how many of you are on the Art Impression Stamp group. Now, this is not our official group. We are guests on it. It was actually started by Carla Eckes, and she has been, started this group a few years ago, and it's grown just huge and lots of inspiration. So if you are not on there, you might want to check that out on Facebook. It's the Art Impression Stamp group. You do have to ask to join. But the people on there have all become friends. I mean, 2,500 of you are all friends now and all over the world. And they are so encouraging. And wow, is everybody getting so good? Phil and I were talking about it this morning. And I'm like, I am feeling the pressure to stay ahead of these artists. Wow. I love the techniques that you guys are coming up with. And I told him that, when I started, this watercolor technique is actually about probably 25 years old. I think about 25 years ago, or maybe even more, when I started this technique, I had no idea how far it could go. And I'm just blown away with your imagination and your creativity. I absolutely Love it. I love it when you make it your own. And so I am going to do my best to always challenge you, which is part of this Wednesday Live, is to do a bit more of a challenge project so that I can keep challenging you and keep inspiring you because, wow, you guys are getting so good. And then, you know, of course, if you're just beginning, check out Kendra, Back to Basics, and by all means follow me on Wednesdays too, because it's a lot of the same technique, but I don't have as much time to go over the details and over the basic instructions like I do, like Kendra does in Back to Basics. So it's kind of a review on a lot of things. So back to my comments. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Jane. Hello, Sue. Nell, I see you on here. Barbara. Linda, hello. So many of you are on, and so many of you, I appreciate it. So today, I have 4 new sets to show you. So, and I'm going to be using elements from some of these sets. So first of all, 2 sets of rocks. Now, I have been wanting to do this for a long time. There is a small set and a large set. Now, I started out with 1 and then quickly realized I need 2 sizes. So these little rocks are super versatile. We're going to use some today. And then as we go, these are going to become staples like everything else because we're going to use them over and over again. And there's so many different ways to use them. So many different ways to use them. And then 2 sizes. So these will be really, really handy to use. This is 5415 and 5414 on our website. These 2 little guys. Like I said, we're going to be using some of those today. And this one, Weathered Stumps, I love this set. I love it. I think we are going to be using these a ton too. And I'm going to be using some of these. So I picked out this little stump here. So I'm going to put that into the composition for today. This is 5413, by the way. 5413 on this one. And then the pond set. So this is a watercolor pond set 5424 on this one. We're not using this one today, but you know what? It's coming. I'm going to make sure that I do samples of all of these so that you guys can see how to use them. And plus, they're just so fun. So let me see. Do you guys have any questions so far? Bonnie, you rock. Oh, how funny. That's awesome. You guys are the best. Allison, time to spend more money. Oh, you guys, these 2 especially will be worth your investment. These, actually, this one too. These will become staples. They 100% will. And you know what? This one too. So the thing about these kinds of stamps is that they're so versatile and you're creating these scenes and you're really kind of building a collection. That's basically what it is. And you'll be able to use them a ton of different ways. So we are also going to use the Simple Scene Lake. So this one, I did a tutorial with the Rocky River. Now these 2 are new. These are the 2 newest ones of the Simple Scenes line. We're going to be doing the lake today, and I see more lakes in the future too because this is going to be so fun to use. We're going to be using this a lot. So I want to tell you though, an announcement about these 2, the Simple Scenes. If you have not purchased this, we are out of the clear. We ran out again really quickly. We are still waiting on a replenishment of that. It will be here, I believe, mid-August. But in the meantime, you can buy these in rubber. So we have decided not to wait until those clear images come in. So you can buy these now on our website. Now, if they're rubber, they will have an R after the SKU. So for example, the lake is 5430. 5430, it will have an R after it. The clear 5430 will show out of stock, but the R, the one with the R, is the rubber, okay? So we're gonna be using that today. And the Simple Scene, the Rocky River, the same. It's number 5431, but it would be 5431R. That is the rubber version. So if you want to wait until August, you certainly can do that, or you can purchase the one in rubber, okay? All right, let's get going. Let me show you the project, actually. This is a really fun, I think I say this every time. This was a really fun one, but honestly, you guys, these are so fun to do. They really, really are. Challenge yourself a little bit. That's what these tutorials are, to challenge you a little bit and try to learn something new. So here is our image for today. This is what we are going to be doing. And you can see we're using half of the pond. So not even the whole pond, we're just using half, and half of a house too. So that's also a really fun look. Okay, so I think it is 10:10. I think it's time to switch the camera around, and let me just see if there's anyone that I also need to say hi to. Hi, Julie, Valerie, hello. Ginger is watching, hello. Karen Kelly. Yes, all the projects can be fun. They really can. Dot, absolutely love. Dot is a fabulous artist. If you have not seen her work, she is amazing. She's on our design team. We're very thankful for that. Carolyn, hello. Ruth Ann, and of course Ruth Ann. So Ruth Ann is the moderator of the Art Impressions group, and wow, she is so creative. There are some amazing artists on that group. There really are. I mean, I could just, you know, name them off by the dozens. They're so amazing, and they just encourage each other. So, okay, enough chatter, and let's get the camera turned around and let's get going on this project. Okay, so here we go. Switch you guys around and move this into place. And I think I'm going to just add a little more light here. Okay, much better. Okay, I think we're pretty centered here. So let's look at the project. Here's what we're going to make. And here is actually that stamp, and it's kind of fun to lay this over the top so that you can see where it is, because the whole goal is not that we have a simple scene and then we have some things with it. It's to create one cohesive image that all goes together and looks like it's a beautiful little scene. So we don't want to see where one element ends and one begins. So here's how it goes, and actually I think it might even be turned a little bit. So it's sitting here just like this, and the rest of this is off the page. So you can see here's part of the house, here's how it wraps around, and here's the background. So we're going to be stamping that in addition to that simple scene. So here's the lake up close. Here is the one we're going to be using, this side of it. It's 5430, available now just in the rubber. So 5430R, unless you want to wait for the clear one to come back into stock, which will be, I think, mid-August. So also, in addition to the simple scene, from the rustic cabin set, this one here. And I picked a large one because you can see, you know, with this image, this can be very far in the distance. So you can put tiny little structures in the back. You could put just trees back there. This could be a huge, huge lake, or it could be a very small little water area, you know, pond, or, you know, tiny little lake, depending on the size of the structure that you use. So I love that about it. I think that it's going to be really fun to kind of change that up and use different things. So I chose a large structure like this, and you can see we're only using this section. So just a small part of it, but I want to show you that you can do stuff like this. This is really fun to do. Kind of helps you think outside of the box a little bit. From the large tree set, and I don't know if I've used any of these yet. I know I've used the leaves, but we're going to use this one and the leaves, of course. So we're going to use both of those. And then in our foliage set, our basic set, just the little grass. And in flower set 4, now I chose this one, but you can, you know, that's this little flower in here. You can use any flower you want, absolutely any. They're going to work. Anything is going to work in here. You can see how this would be changed up, you know, so easily with different seasons. You know, this is just to give you the idea mostly about the composition and how to put this together. And then you can use your imagination and put whatever color, combination in here you want. So this little guy, this is flower set 4. And then the mini foliage set, this little background foliage. I love this set, by the way. I probably told you guys that 100 times, but again, it's one of those sets that will be a staple. We'll just keep going back to all the time. So that is what we're using. You can see it doesn't take a lot of stamps. It really doesn't. It's taking, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 total, but most of them are interchangeable. Also the tree, you can put any tree back here you want or not. So that again, use what you have. you know, if you don't have all of these stamps that I'm using, use what you have. A lot of them are interchangeable and they're going to look great, even if they aren't exactly what I'm using. So here's the one that we're doing. Now, here was my first attempt. So I like to do this sometimes and just show you guys. I rarely am happy with my first attempt. And I don't know if that's encouraging to you or not, but you know, doing it again, I can see where I can make changes and maybe do something a little different. Maybe something is a little too busy. Maybe I have a little too much ink. Maybe I don't really like the colors. I change it up and you can see here, I simplified it a little bit. I like that better. Now, the only thing I'm not sure about in this one is the size of this bird. Wow, that's a really big bird on that tree trunk. So I guess this is maybe just a small tree trunk, but that's a giant bird. But you know what? Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't mind it at all. So I did change a few things. I changed the color in the trees. I didn't make this quite as busy, but in this tutorial, what I really want to show you is how to create a mirror like this on the water and how to create this water line and just sort of have that image of your foliage kind of mirrored on the water. It's not hard to do. And I want to show you guys how to do that. So I cleaned this up a little bit. I took these flowers out. I had them in the foreground. I took them out and made this a little bit more simple so that we can kind of focus on this area. So, I usually always do that. And I don't know if that's helpful to you or not. This one isn't terrible. It's fine, but I like this one much better. I think it's simpler and neater. And I think, we can see our focal point a little bit better. It's not quite as busy, but maybe you really like busy stuff. So that again is totally up to you. So putting that aside now, we're going to put these samples aside and we're going to get to our project. So the first thing I did was block off draw a square of, how big I want this little opening to be. And the way I do this, instead of getting a ruler and trying to draw lines, I cut a square and then I sort of have it, for use next time. Now this is about 2.5 by 3 and, it's probably right at 3 1/4. So 2.5 by 3 1/4 is about what I've used. And then I cut that. I just cut this square and then I just draw around it. And then I know that it's even and it's square. And I don't have to line up my ruler and try to figure out how to draw a perfect line. So you don't know if that's helpful or not too, but little tips and tricks sometimes make things way easier. So now what we're going to do is mask this off. So we're going to use some Post-it tape like this, and we're just gonna mask off along these lines so that we can stamp over it, and it's gonna stay in this little frame. Who says I love cranes? We need cranes. Oh, great idea. Okay, I wrote it down, Dot. I'm writing it down right now. Cranes. I love that idea. I love hearing your ideas too, everyone. I love it when you send me ideas. And they get to me. So a lot of times people will send me an idea and they just send it to Leah, feedback@Art Impressions. I always get those. She always forwards them to me. So I always know what you're asking for. Okay. So we've got our little, and I'm going to just bring this forward a little bit here. Put this in the right position. Make sure that I'm not off the page. This also kind of sticks down your paper so it doesn't move around. And get my palette and my water. And I am set to go here. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is stamp the house, the little house. And then we'll stamp the simple scene over the top. So let's take this guy, and I'm going to use my positioner because I want to make sure that I have it where I want it. I don't really want to get this line. I'll just show you. So let me just stamp it on here. And I'm going to use two colors. So I'm going to use the dark brown, and I'm going to use the dark blue, 565 and 969. And if you've watched any tutorials with me, you know this color combination by heart. And I'm just going to ink this all up with 2 colors. Now I use the blue first, and then I'm going to use the brown over the top. And then I'm going to just stamp it into the corner, like so. Now I can line this up and see exactly where I want it. And I'm going to line it up right along this crease. I don't want the line really into my composition, and I don't want this directly in the center. So I'm going to move it up so that it's not really in the center. And actually maybe this line is probably closer to the center. It doesn't have to be exact, but I want to kind of offset it just a little bit. And I don't want this line in here. So I'm going to take this line out. So now I can place that back, and I think I'm going to just stamp this off a little bit. I don't want that too dark. And then take this little line off here. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Not too dark, but still able to see those lines, and not quite in the center, but a little closer to the top. Okay, so now let's get our simple scene in. So here it is. This is a clear. Now with the clear, you can see, which is another reason why I really like these in clear, is that you can see exactly where to stamp it. Now, if you get the rubber version, I would suggest that you get the acrylic plate, the large one, the 4x6. Also, you can buy that separately for your positioner, because I really feel like you're going to need that with these, with the rubber, so that you can position it. You can't see through it, and it's a very big stamp. So you'll be able to use that large acrylic plate that goes with the positioner. It's a 4x6, and you'll be able to put this on here and position it just fine. So, but with the clear ones, we can see exactly where it's going. So I'm going to do the whole thing in this light color. So this is N89, very light. And I'm just going to ink this whole thing up here. And I think I'll just take a little bit of Post-it tape. Whoops, drop my pen. Because I think I'm going to want to just cover this a little bit so that I don't have too much of this stamped over the top. And I can see exactly where I want to put it. And I think I want to put this right up towards the top. So maybe just over this way a little bit more. And I think that's probably pretty good there. And we want to just barely see it. So now I can take this off, and we can see the outline of this lake. And now this really gives you a perspective as to where everything is going now. It just kind of takes the stress away, I think, when you can kind of see kind of your building blocks here, and you can see where everything is going. Okay, so now and this is very light, so we can easily put our little rocks in. So let's do that, and the stump. So I chose so here's the rocks I'm using. Let me just show you. And it's from this is from the small rock set, and it's this one right here. And all of these can be used just pieces. They're gonna work so great, you guys. These are little angles, so they can angle this way, or they can angle this way to create a cove, or a little jetty, something that's kind of jetting out into the water. I think we're gonna be able to use these so much. And with these too, you can just use parts. You can just use a little pile of them. So I think they're gonna be so easy and so fun to use. But I am going to use my positioner again. 2 colors. So this time it's going to be the brown. And then the blue over the top. And then let's use the positioner to make sure we get it in the right place. And I think I'm going to move it over just a little bit. You can turn it, you can angle it a little bit. That's perfectly fine. And let's just move it. Maybe let's drop it down just a little bit here. I think that looks pretty good. Huff on it a little bit. And there we go. Got our rocks in. And then let's put our little stump over here on the side. And we're going to use those two colors, same two colors again, blue first this time. And then brown right over the top of that. Stamp that in the corner. And then maybe this little guy will go right here. Okay, it's coming together. We're starting to see some little elements in here. And I usually do that first. So if I'm adding rocks or stumps or anything like that, I put those in first, and then I can kind of see where everything else is going. So last thing would be the tree. So let's put this in. Now in this case, when I stamped the tree in, I stamped it off and made the little tree trunks light. Now you can also make those dark. You could stamp that, not stamp it off, and then pull that color out and make the tree darker and make these little branches and stuff darker. But it's kind of fun to do something different. So in this case, I just inked this, and then let's, of course, cover this because we don't want that tree stamped over the top of that house. So let's ink this up, and I'm going to use two colors again. And I'm going to use the blue and the dark brown where the tree trunks are the heaviest, so the largest. And then up towards the top, I'm just going to use the green. And I'm going to use this green. So this is number 27. It's kind of a olive green. And I'm just going to ink this kind of over the whole thing. And then I can stamp it just, you can use a positioner with this too, but I think you can pretty much just eyeball it. There we go. That looks pretty good. And I said I was stamping it off, and I sure didn't, but we'll just make it work. So you see how much darker that is? We can still do it. We'll just pull the color to the outside, but if you were going to leave those trees really white, you would probably want to stamp that off. If there is any area that hasn't come through, just take your pencil and just fill it in. Okay, just like that. Okay, this is looking like something. So let's start out by putting some color on and pulling the color out of the lines, which is our first step. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit now so that you can kind of see a little closer up. Now that we've got everything in there. Okay, so let's start out with the little structure, and we're going to pull this color out along the eaves here. This is going to be a shadow in here, and especially under here on this side. And then in here. This little section of the house is kind of in the background, so this is going to be shaded in here. You can follow this here. And then the roof. We don't have much of the roof to deal with, so that's going to be really easy. And then our rocks. You want to concentrate the color at the bottom. So that's really, really important to do. Make sure you leave a highlight on there. And these two, you want to stay in each section as you go. Just stay in each section. The top, is going to be lighter. And then we can add some more color to this later too. And let's just pull a little of this color out on the tree. You can still make it light. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of finish up this little house. Actually, let's just take some of this color out too here as we're going along. Okay, let's finish up this little house. So I'm going to add some details to the windows with my fine tip. And I'm going to use the very fine tip. And this is just the dark blue. And I'm just going to draw some little details in here. They don't have to be perfect, thankfully, but they do add a lot to your composition when you do this. Some things are just worth a little extra time. And you know, you don't mind spending the time if you are confident in what you're doing and how it's going to turn out. I think the stress is spending hours on something and then not being sure if you're going to like it. But these usually always turn out some. You know, rarely is it just a bust. And then the second and third time, that's why it's kind of fun to just make a few. You know, when you're working on something, just make a few at a time. And you get really good at it really quickly. Okay, so now these are pretty big windows. So I'm going to take some of this blue and just add a little bit to the side, just to create a little bit of a shadow. And then let's take some of that blue now on the palette. This is a 565. And this is a 969, so we'll put some of this on here. Try to remember to do this. Kendra just does this all the time. It's so smart. This is a 565. And then we can put some shadows in, actually get some blue shadows in here. And then some blue back in here. And then we can kind of mix some of this blue and brown and get this overhang here. And this one. If you take a little bit of the blue, and actually I think I'll use my tiny little brush, you can create a little detail on the windows, especially if they're little bigger windows, just by putting a little line underneath that looks like a little shadow, and then maybe one on the side. It'd be really dark in here. And it's kind of a process. You know, you're just going to keep coming back to it and maybe adding a little more color and adding a little darker color. And then I would just kind of mess this up a little bit. I don't want it too bright. Too bright white. It's always going to have some shadows in here. And this little overhang here would be really dark. Starting to come together. And let's just add some, color to the roof. I think I'm going to add a little of this green to it. This is the number 27. A little brown and green. You always want to, leave that highlight at the top, as you're going. Okay, this is getting finished here. Okay, so let's keep going. And let's tackle this area in the front of the little cottage. And that's the area where we're going to do the reflection into the water. So the first thing we're going to do is put some green. This is the number 249. 249, and we're going to take a little bit of this with a brush and kind of follow along the edge of this lake. So just like this. Just kind of follow along just like that. You see how that pops that up too? You can really create a bank just doing that. Just bringing a little bit of color right along that edge. It just sort of pops that up. So now we're going to take the leaves. Now this is the leaves that we use for the tree. And I'm going to do these in 2 colors. So this is the dark blue, 565. And when I stamp this, I'm going to hang it over a little bit. So just kind of like this, just hang it over that green and just stamp it in here, just like that. Now I'm going to clean it off and switch colors. And this is that olive green, number 27. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to kind of hang it over, just a little bit over that green line, just like that. Now, everything kind of above that green line, we're going to do the same as we do before. So dab, just like we would do with any other foliage that we're adding. And then the same with this one. You can kind of blend these two together a little bit. And then the rest of this is going to kind of just flow out. And then we're going to just go over this line again. Don't stress out about this. This is so easy, and it doesn't have to be perfect because what you're doing is creating this little water line. You're creating this little water line, and then the rest of this is a reflection. So we're just dragging some of that color out into the water. And we can just kind of drag it all back here. And then let that dry for a little bit, and we'll go back in and do some more with it. So let's go on to the little rocks here. And I'm going to add some more color to it because I think these rocks are a little light, and I want to get some more color in here. So I can do that with the black too. So N25, we can add a little black on here. Just right down here on the bottom. And kind of back in all these little crevices. And just always make sure that you have a highlight on top. That's probably the biggest thing, is that you have a highlight so that you can see that these things are contours and they're rounded. Otherwise, it's just going to look flat. And I'm just picking out the black here. And then we can put some more color on this little stump. Okay, that looks good. Let's continue on now and do something back here in the background. Now this is kind of a cool green. This is 228. It's a lighter green. It's got some blue in it. And I'm just going to kind of brush this into the background here. And I think I'll just kind of bring this little hill forward. Along the water line here. And then let's add just a little bit of blue to this one and put this more in the distance. If you're not quite sure about the colors, do a test palette, where you can kind of test it on another sheet of watercolor paper, or just do it really lightly so that you can go back over it again. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's put in our little foliage here in the background. So this is from that little mini foliage set. And I'm just going to use, here's the cool green, 249. You know, you can really mix up the greens. They don't, it doesn't really matter which one you're using. So you can use either. And I'm just going to kind of drag these over a little bit so that it looks like there's just a lot of bushes kind of everywhere. It's just so fun to do these, you guys. They're just so fun. I think they just turn out so neat. And people just love this so much when you do stuff like this. I mean, how many of your things that you've done have people actually put in a frame and displayed it in their home because they can't believe that you made something like this. And, you know, I also love that they don't take a huge amount of time. You know, some of these projects that are a little more complex, they take a little more thought, but for the most part, you know, you can usually do 1.5 hours. So I'm just adding a little color in here, and I'm going to add some blue in the sky. Because I want to get some color into these corners. So when I peel the tape off, you'll be able to see where that is. So especially up in here. And we're just kind of pushing this color, kind of pushing it around. Can leave some clouds in here. It's kind of fun. I'm going to put some color back in here so we can really see these little trees. And maybe just a little bit darker up here. Okay, so let's go on to the tree, and I'm going to use those leaves again. I'm going to clean this off because I just used that olive green on them. So here's the leaves again, and you know, you can turn these either direction, so that will kind of change up the look a bit too. And I'm just going to start out by putting some of these leaves in. Just kind of stamp them in. However, maybe one down here. And then I'm going to add another green to it. So I'm going to add this green, 177, just kind of mix it up a little bit. And then we can add some water to it. So we've actually got 3 greens in here because remember I stamped the branches in that olive green. So we've got some of that color too. And, you know, leave some of these little areas light, you know, where the branches are. And just kind of take your time. You're just pulling the color out of the lines and just kind of mixing it up. I'm kind of jumping my brush around. So, you know, the biggest thing is you don't want to do any brush strokes, you know, where it actually looks like you're painting. I don't really want to do any of that. Just kind of jump your brush around and just kind of keep that, you know, keep the image, you know, what's the word? The integrity of the image, I guess. Keep the integrity of the image, but still blend it up and soften it. And I'm just going to pull some of this color out now. Maybe a little bit of blue up in here. Or we'd see kind of a little shadow. And actually, you know, we're going to see some shadows on the roof of this little house too. And now let's add some of this. Now this is going to reflect onto the water as well. So let's take some of this green and just put some of this color out here. Just kind of brush it in with little tiny strokes. It's just the idea of it. Doesn't have to be perfect. This, you know, these little, you know, kind of flowering shrubs, they're going to have a pretty dark shadow underneath where that water line is. So once this is dry, you can go back in here and kind of get that shadow in under here. That's going to really make a difference. And you can add some more color out here. And I just think it's so fun to do stuff like this. It's so fun. It just kind of takes it to another level too, where you feel like you're making something that's looking more and more realistic. Okay, so let's go on to the foreground here. And here's our kind of our water line. It comes across this way and around here. And if it's not exactly, you know, where it shows on the stamp, that's okay too. Let's add a little green in here. Maybe something like this color here. This is that leaf again. The cool thing, you know, about these things is that they're never going to be the same when you do it again. It's going to always be different, and I just think that's so fun. So the project today is going to be a combination probably of something in between the two that I've already done. But that's what makes it special when you give it away, because people know that they have an original from you. A one of a kind. Okay, so let's add some more detail in here. And I left this kind of white so that I can put that little bird in. So you do kind of have to think about that a little bit if you want to put details like that in. Make sure that you're not stamping over something like this. Now I couldn't really put that bird here because see how much color is showing? That's a lot of color. So we don't want to stamp anything over the top, but over here we've got space. So let's get something in over here. And I'm going to use some grasses and some of this grass. So the tiny little staple grass. And it just kind of grows, you know, wherever. This thing is so nice to use. You can just kind of walk it and add as much as you want. This stamp is the one that you have permission to do a brushstroke with. You can do a brushstroke on the grasses. And you do kind of want to do that. You want to kind of brush it up. And then you can kind of pull it out like this. And I'm just going to add another color green. This is a 177. Just to kind of mix it up a little bit. You know, try not to color everything in solid, and that goes for, you know, grasses and the ground like this too. It's going to be so much better if you have some white spaces. So now let's add something tall. And I don't think I listed this when I told you what I was using. So this is that tiny little accent grass from, I believe, the most recent Foliage set. But I've used this many, many times. Just stamping over the top of things. And there's so many things that you could use this in this composition. I'm putting a little of this olive green in here too because kind of give it a little mossy look. You know, things are never just one color. So the more that you can kind of mix color in and kind of mix your own colors and add color to it, including things like water, you know, just take a bunch of, you know, your blues or, you know, your greens and just kind of mix them up and create some of your own colors. And it's going to be much more natural looking. You know, there would be green in rocks, blue in rocks. And you can just keep adding, you know, some color in like that. So let's add our little florals. And you can see I kind of left some space here too. And with this one, I just really need to ink the blooms. I don't really need to ink the stems. So I'm just going to do these in purple. Because I've got these little grasses kind of growing up. So I think I got room for maybe one there. And you know, the way that these are made, you can kind of leave that little middle piece kind of sticking up and just kind of fill in the others. But you know, when you add the water to it, it changes the shape. So it looks like it's different. Even though it's the same stamp, it looks totally different. So let's put the little bird in. And I'm just going to use the brown on this, but I am for sure going to stamp it off. And I think what I'll do is use the positioner. I'll use the positioner, and then I think I'm going to clean it off. Clean it off, and then ink it, and then stamp it off to make sure that it's stamped off enough. And I don't have too much ink because these little guys, if they're too dark, they do not look right. You just got a big outline, and you know, it's not going to look natural. So I'm going to tuck him right in here where it's light. And that's about what we want. We don't want him to be too dark. And I'm going back to my tiny little brush. So I can do all these little sections separately. You never want to cross any of these details, image details, because you're going to lose all of these details, you know, that sort of give you the shape of the character. So I'm going to use my twin tone now, and I for sure need to put that little eye in and his little beak. And I could, you know, actually just put a little detail in here just to make sure that that's really showing. And, you know, his little legs. And I'm just going to use this same blue again. Make sure even on these tiny, tiny little characters that you leave the area where their eyes, you leave that as light as you can. And having these little detailed brushes, they really, really make a difference. Get that detail in there. And, you know, let's put a little shadow in here where his little feet are. All those little things, they really make a difference. Put some details in here too. These rocks are. You know, if it's too dark, my hand is always here and I'm always pinching it off. You know, when I add the color, just keep pinching it off. You think it's too dark or too much color, just keep pinching it off. Okay, let's see. What else do we need on here? I think that looks pretty good. I don't see anything else more to do. Let's just add a little more color, a little more green, a little more blue into this lake, especially over on this side, back in here. And now that this little bird is in, we can add a little more color in here too. But, you know, you don't have to, you know, the whole lake doesn't need to be colored because, you know, obviously we know that this is water. We've got that from what we've stamped, and it's really clear. So if you have white spaces, that's okay. That's okay because you certainly get that this is water and these are all reflections in the water. Just so fun. And once you put that water line in, you can clearly see where the water goes. And I think maybe just a little darker on this tree. Okay. The details are the funnest part. And you know, when you're finished or you think you're finished and you can go back in and just get some of these details, it really makes a difference. Even up here in this tree, you can kind of go in and just put a little darker color in here. Okay, you guys, I think that's pretty good. I don't think we need anything else in here. I'm just going to do a little bit more in the background, and I think I'm just going to bring another one of these kind of in the background. And I just use that kind of that light green. So this would be a lot more faded out back here. Okay, you ready for the reveal? Let's take the tape off and just see how this project turned out. Looks kind of whimsical. So fun. And now we can just erase the pencil line, which will come right off. This would be a really fun one to put in a frame too for someone. Okay. And, you know, of course, you're going to sign a date. And I would just sign it right at the bottom, just like that. Let me hold it up a little bit so you can see. Super fun. Not that many stamps, really. And try this little mirror technique. You know, it's not hard. Just make sure you kind of put in that line first, your green line first, so that you can see where that where the water line is. And then remember, everything above it, you're going to stamp the same. And then everything below it, you're going to kind of smear out. And that's really about it. It's just kind of smearing it out. I see something else to do. Just some other little detail, you know. So fun. And, you know, I think part of it is that, you know, it's so fun doing these projects that you don't want to quit. You want to just keep going. Okay, I think it is really done. Now, if you would like this, just comment. And I will draw a winner. Just comment. I want Bonnie's sample, or please put me in the drawing for Bonnie's sample, that you want my sample, and then we'll wait a couple of days and then we'll pick a winner and get that sent to you. So let me switch things around here, and I'll see if you guys have any questions for me. Okay, and I'm back face to face. So let me check my comments. I am so not good at watching comments when I'm doing these projects. And I really try, but I'm just not good at it. So I do go back and look later and see if there's any questions. Happy belated birthday. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ruth Ann, thank you for watching. Yes, now Ruth Ann love to have your artwork. Just put something like that. If you would like to have it, just put that in there. Kimberly Ann, can family members win? No, you cannot. We'd love to get her on doing some tutorials soon. Does anybody have any questions about this technique? Anybody have anything that you want to ask? Any questions about colors? The stamps, let me show you again the new sets. So let me just do a quick recap here. The weathered stumps. This is the one that I used. Now, this is the one I used right here. So there are lots of them on here. And I love those old weathered trees. I can't wait to use those too. They're going to be so fun. And then you have a right and a left. So I am doing that more because sometimes you need it to be on the correct side. So this one is number 5413. 2 sets of rocks. Now we use the little ones this time. This is 5414. 5414 on the small ones. 5415 on the large ones. These will be staples, you guys. We're going to use these a lot. And then the little pond with the ducks in it. So fun. We're going to do this one too. So we've got lots of tutorials ahead, you guys. We're going to have lots and lots of inspiration. Check us out on, obviously on our Facebook page, on Pinterest, on Instagram, Bonnie Krebs Bible Journaling, if you are interested in doing this in a journal. Anything besides watercolor paper, because we can sure do that by prepping the page. So that's a whole nother world and super fun to do. So I am on Instagram doing that. And then, of course, the Art Impressions Instagram. Check out the blog. Check out our website. Remember, we have these now back in stock, the simple scenes. So the lake and the Rocky River are back in stock. And you can get those. They are rubber. So I would encourage you to get the little plate for your positioner, the large plate, the 4x6. I think it's like $2.75. It would be worth it for you to have that. Okay. I think that is it, you guys, and I will see you again next Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, just put them in below. I will go through these and see if there's anything that I need to answer, and I will for sure do that. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for being with me on Wednesday. Thank you for being with many of you Wednesday after Wednesday. I appreciate it so much, and I love getting to do what I get to do. It is just, it's the best. Okay, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for watching.